Okay, Alexander McGill is back with us. He's got a fashion vampire film, which is a great kind of tagline for because everybody wants to see that. And he was with us last year with a different film, and now he's got this 5 minute film coming out, The Brides of Dracula. So how's it going, Alexander? Tell me about the concept of this film.
Yeah, hi. Thank you for having me. This film, what's interesting about this particular project is that we have pretty much exactly the same team as I did on the previous fashion film, House of Mystic Magic. So we really felt that it was such a great team we had put together. So only a couple of months later, really, I had this project coming up, and I told the producer, I really liked the team we had for this. I felt like we worked well together. Do you guys want to jump on this and do that one? Because we wanted to film it kind of when it was autumnal and a bit dark and gritty. So,
Yeah,
um, yeah, we jumped on it and we got like I say like 90% the same team and same DOP, same lighting. So yeah, even got one of the models who played the devil in the first film played Dracula in the second film, for those who maybe noticed that.
yeah.
Um, so yeah.
So okay, so tell me about the exterior shots. Like what's created, like what's CGI, what's created in post, what's real.
Yeah, so the main concept behind this, I felt I really wanted to make something that looked a bit like a graphic novel.
Yeah, it 100% does.
Thank you.
Yeah,
So yeah, graphic novel come to life with some sort of almost cartoonish elements in it as well. But it was very important to me to use, real models, real locations as much as possible. So the outdoor shots are filmed outdoors, just not in a graveyard, because that stuff is so expensive to get permission to do.
yeah.
Um, and with the whole graphic novel idea, we thought, we're gonna do it in visual effects. Um, so we got my visual effects artist from the first project. He was still on board for this one, and obviously I think apart from like two or three shots, like there's visual effects in every shot in those 5 minutes. So it was a very costly project to do. Um, but it was necessary for the visuals. So he has built all these, outdoor graveyard backdrops and all this in his softwares, so there's nothing AI about any of this, and I think that's quite important to put out there. All of this is built with, matte paintings, visual effects,
Yeah.
CGI rendering, and all that by a very, very talented visual effects artist. So without him, obviously, we wouldn't have this project. So I worked very, very closely with him to make sure that everything um, was flowing very smoothly, because obviously the inside of the church is a real location. Uh, but what you see outside is not what this church
Yeah.
actually looks like. So, we had to kind of imagine but build it grander and be like, okay, what would this church looks like from the outside if it was like this big
Yeah.
epic thing? So we tried to use what was already there, the shapes of the windows and everything that we had to work with, and adapt that into the exterior of the place as well.
Okay,
Um,
so there's some like you shot inside of a church, and did they know exactly what you were going to do? Because, some religious organization could find your film offensive. I don't know. I loved it, but basically some people would find it a little bit over the top. I guess like, they I don't want to give anything away, but tell me about getting that location
yeah.
and how much truth was told in the process.
So obviously, kind of the narrative that we're trying to tell here is something that, it's the kind of stories that um you would associate with Dracula or vampires, like
Yeah.
attack humans, or this kind of stuff. So yeah, it was filmed at so it's not a church anymore. It's an art center now.
Okay.
So it's used for events and stuff like that. But yes, we were very open about what we were going to do. And they were fine with it. Um, so yeah. We no, I didn't try to sugarcoat anything. I said it's about vampires.
No,
This is
no,
what
I'm
we're
because I'm assuming a regular church that you want to shoot at and would
exactly.
say, okay, what's the script? What's the story? And they're like, well, no.
Exactly.
Right?
No, and well, because it was firstly it was difficult to find an interior church location that looked how I needed it to look,
Yeah.
you know.
Like kind of
Um,
different, like different era, I guess, right?
yeah, because I wanted something that looked really old,
Yeah.
not upgraded or refurbished in any way, you know, no like flashing exit signs over the doors. It
Yeah.
needed to be very old and authentic and fairy tale like. So we were lucky to find this place because obviously like it was shot in January as well, so it was terribly, terribly cold. It was really cold. Because you know they haven't insulated anything. It's just as it was built, you know.
Yeah.
And it worked very beautifully for the visuals, but it wasn't so great for us working inside there in mid-January, which it was at the time. But yeah, it's a great location and it was perfect for what we wanted as well. Like, you know, the front with the altar is very embellished and kind of when we put this Madonna statue in there that the designer had built, it kind of gave it a more grand status, I think, because of how elaborate the altar actually was with these cages and
Mhm.
all that leading up to it. So it kind of elevated everything in a really nice way. So I was quite fighting to get that location because I just thought it worked really well for the project.
Yeah. Well, it's a fantastic, like there's an amazing production design in this film. And tell me about the costumes and the makeup, the blood, kind of that. This is what's the same, it's the same team from the last film.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, obviously the costume designer is a different
Okay.
designer. So all the pieces that the vampires are wearing, and you know, these are kind of pieced together. You know, there's shoes for everyone, there is corsets, there is shoulder pieces, there was eye patches that we didn't end up using. There was all kinds of stuff, and then the throne and basically everything that has that monstery sculpture. He designed all of that, and there was a lot of pieces that we had brought that we didn't end up using in the end. But I was trying to incorporate as much as possible, and I think we have about roughly 30 of his pieces. Obviously, had to pick and choose what worked in the context of the film, you know, because not everything would, because it wasn't originally made for the purpose of that. But yeah, I wanted to make a fashion film centered around the concept of vampires because it's something that I've interested in and kind of Victorian Gothic and all that.
Yeah.
Um, so my first initial ideas was to do something that was extremely Victorian Gothic and like fabrics and all this stuff. Um, and I was looking for a fashion designer to collaborate with. Um, and this guy came up and I thought this is definitely not at all what I had in mind, but it is so damn cool that there is no way I can turn this down. Like, I'm gonna adapt my ideas and I'm gonna incorporate these designs from this guy and we're gonna make it work. And we clicked so much like from the very start. So I'm still collaborating with him. We're doing other projects right now
Yeah.
together.
Mm.
Um, yeah, we definitely spoke the same language. Got to visit his studio and all the stuff that he does. Um, so yeah, we kind of sectioned all the corsets and outfits into the good bride, the bad bride, and the
Yeah.
evil bride, and kind of tried to play within that so that they would still have
Yeah.
their own characteristics and look quite different from each other, but still together
Yeah.
they work as a whole. So yeah,
I would, if someone asked me about this film, I would point out that there's it's sexy Draculas, sexy female Draculas.
yeah,
Is that a fair assessment?
I think that's a fair assessment. I mean, vampires, especially in sort of modern pop culture, are very like carnal, sensual, and it's kind
Yeah.
of mixing this deadly cannibalistic
Yeah.
vibe that they've got with something that is quite sexy. I mean, that's my projects, like that's what I do, like
Yeah.
everything I do is has kind of like an air of sensual and sexual undertones. It worked really well in the context. It worked really well with the costumes. Um, yeah, I think it was kind of just like it was already sort of written in there, so we kind of went with it and tried to turn it into this quite disturbing to thing as well, like kind of mixing that together, like this murderous stuff with the kind
Yeah,
of sexual aspect. So I think it was necessary and I think it works. I think it works well in the context.
it is very boob centric. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a scene. There's the scene when she has like six nipples.
Yeah, so obviously that's the Whore of Babylon corset, which is the name what the designer has called the outfit. Yeah, so it's got six breasts.
Yeah,
Uh, it's a piece that's gotten a lot of attention wherever he brings it to like
sure.
a show or an
Yeah,
exhibition or something. It's kind of a big showstopper. And what I loved more about it than anything was how colorful it was, how many beautiful details there is, and there is like uh, creepy little like roses with eyeballs inside them, and there is so much detail, but we couldn't possibly manage to actually film all that detail to put in the film. So yeah, you're kind of left with this impression that there is a six boob outfit. Um, I thought so. To the designer, I know that that piece means a lot, and it's kind of like a commentary and symbolism of femininity and empowerment, female empowerment.
yeah,
That's where he's coming from with it. Um, yeah, to me, I just think in the context of her like being really playful character and having hot pink hair and all that, and wearing that, it's kind of giving it a very kind of like comedic element as well,
yeah,
perhaps. Um, but I kind of like that it has so many different layers to it. And like I said, to the designer and the model said this as well, like I feel so empowered wearing this. And I thought that was very interesting because at first glance, you're like, oh, that's funny. And then you start to look at all the sort of subtext that's packed
yeah.
into it. Um,
So from a heterosexual male perspective, you're like very attracted to her, and then 30 seconds later, you're scared out of your mind, right? Like you're like she's gonna kill you, right? Well, she is gonna kill you. So there's like that. It's like all of a sudden you go, it's 180, right? Like of
yeah,
emotions. Like it's
exactly.
very extreme, right? So, but it's a metaphor. I could call it a metaphor for a lot of things. So,
Yeah, no, I think you can. And I think that's definitely one of the things that I was trying to do and something that I'm trying to incorporate into future projects as well, to kind of lead people on and then flip it and then play a completely different side of it. And I think, well, with vampires in particular, I think that's very much a thing that's being done. Like, you have these beautiful, perfect porcelain skin kind of vampires, like like Twilight and Vampire Diaries and all these
yeah,
modern stuff as well. Um, and sort of the that alluring, oh, you're so attracted to them, you can't stop looking at them. They're so perfect, they're so pristine, and then kind of they lure you in, and then they fuck you up. So it's kind of
yeah,
very much that, very much that.
yeah. I get it. Yeah, you could take the individual viewer can put that in perspective for their own life, I guess, right? So, which is great. So tell me, so then the costumes were already made. Like he already had the costumes designed and made before this film.
Yeah, so what this guy does is obviously it's very sculptural. So we calls it wearable art or wearable sculpture. Some of the pieces, are quite heavy to wear as well. They're obviously the purpose of them is more to, it's the art and it's about admiring it as a piece of art rather than a functional piece of clothing.
Yeah,
Now he's actually advanced quite a fair bit, so he's making pieces that are much easier to wear and more like lightweight and stuff like that. But a lot of these pieces that I was using was some of his very old work where he was kind of
gotcha.
experimenting with stuff. But um So yeah, all the pieces were made. No, he did actually make some smaller pieces, especially for the film, but the majority of them were already made, and they weren't made for the purpose of this film at all. You know, they were made for exhibition and for show, and because he wanted to make them, and he's kind of slowly been climbing his way up and trying now to make kind of a mark in the fashion world. Um, is kind of, you know, he's quite a name in sort of alternative circles and like Whitby Goth Weekend and all of these kind of like alternative
Mhm.
circles. They quite know his name and now he's trying to build further and be more kind of centered around wearable fashion. So it's very interesting to see how he takes that from wearable sculpture and into the fashion world. Yeah, so most of the pieces weren't created for this. That was me then trying to take what he had and incorporate it into something that worked for what I was making.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, some of the pieces, obviously, like this big throne and this gown that opens up, it wasn't originally a part of my ideas, but when I saw them, I was like, we've got to find a way to make
Yeah,
this work.
that's what you're a great collaborator. He must have loved this then. Like it was like he must have been waiting for you for a long time.
Yeah, I think so. You know, I mean, it's sexy, it's dark, it's gothic. Like it couldn't be more gothic if you tried, I think, and I love that. So we were trying to kind of take what, you know, like what is kind of like stereotypically gothic and Victorian gothic, and then flip it and elevate it and do something different with it.
Yeah.
Um, as you can see, the film is very colorful, actually. Like I went out of my way to really boost all the colors that I could in there too. So it's gothic, but it's extremely colorful gothic.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know that that's been done a whole lot before. So I was excited about the aspect of doing that. And again, that plays with the whole graphic novel aspect of it as well. You know, the cartoonish side of it. So yeah.
So this is Liam Brandon Murray, right? That's the designer.
Yes, it is. It is. So this was the first collaboration we've done. I'm now actually working on a documentary about him and
Mhm.
his journey from sculpture into the world of fashion. We've been filming for a couple of years, and we probably still have another year to go on that. But very exciting
So it's a
stuff. And
feature, it's a feature documentary, right?
it is, yeah. We've gone through a lot of formats, but I think in the end, we're deciding it needs to be a feature-length documentary, hoping to bring it somewhere, you know, get it aired somewhere when it's finished. That's the hope.
Well, according to his Instagram page, he calls himself the Devil's Tailor. And
Which is the title of the documentary, yeah,
that's what's going to be called, the Devil's Tailor.
exactly.
Okay. And he's got a vegetable dress. Is the vegetable dress going to be in the movie?
Yes, actually, the vegetable dress is we're in talks of doing another fashion film. Again, completely different from this
Yeah.
one. Not very Victorian Gothic at all, but that's one of the main pieces that I want to feature in that as well. So it's funny that you bring that up because yes, that's literally the next thing we're gonna do, and we're aiming to shoot it now in springtime. So yeah,
Gotcha. Well, yeah,
yeah.
it's exciting. And like these are really innovative. And you just send it to the festival circuit, get some reactions. This could be a great viral film, like internet film later on. I don't know if that's your plan. Like get it out
Thank you.
there and basically because it just has that kind of vibe to it, right? So
Yeah, I think definitely. I mean, combined with the crazy outfits and
yeah,
the interesting
sexiness.
makeup and crazy colors, this is definitely something that a lot of the shots are very eye-catching, and I think that could work well, especially on social media when we start to put some more pieces out from that. Um, I have to say though, I mean, the film has been doing okay in festivals for now, but I feel like it's it's a weird project because it's kind of stuck somewhere in being too um too gothic it's too horror to be fashion and it's too fashion to be horror. So it's kind of stuck somewhere in between the two. So I've been accepted to a few festivals for now, and we have quite a lot still pending.
Yeah.
But what I'm kind of seeing here is that it's a kind of like a hybrid project of a lot of things. So it's not technically horror, and it is fashion, but it's not what's deemed as fashion, like
Yeah.
mainstream fashion or what's kind of hot in the fashion industry right now. And I think as a result of that, the project might not be accepted to as many projects as it could have been if it was a very clear, if it had a very clear sense of belonging somewhere. Um, but that's also the kind that I like to do. I like to not fit in. I kind of like
Yeah.
to, I have a vision and I try to execute it the way that I see it in my head. And then afterwards you think, oh, where does it fit in? And I think with this one, as visually stunning as I think it is, I understand that it's not necessarily all festivals' cup of tea, especially the fashion ones. But we're trying, so we have yet to see exactly where it's gonna
This
go.
is
And
this is a I know if you submit to horror festivals, you're going to get accepted. So just letting you know.
okay, well, thank you. We've gotten accepted to quite a few, but yeah, I think it's more erotic fashion than horror, but it's
No,
got
I
an
know, but
element.
it still has that vibe, that horror. Like you got to basically they take out a heart and they lick it and like it's horrific.
Thank you.
And it's even the way that the CGI, that like you said, the graphic novel aspect of it is very, yeah, it's very much, yeah. I
Yeah,
would definitely. Well, I think your like your other film's amazing. I can't wait to see your documentary, your feature documentary. I know it's a long process, but I'd love to see it next. And again, we'll talk again when you make your next film, when you showcase your next film.
perfect. Thank you. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you.